Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee Talk in the woods. You gotta get coffee service out here, guys.
I'm just loving the pine.
You're just smelling the fresh air.
Yes, the pine smell. Oh, love that.
It's beautiful. I am loving the shade.
Yes, that's right.
I definitely spent too much time in the sun on Canada Day. Happy in between Canada Day and America Day. It's a beautiful season. But let's look back on the service. What a wonderful morning. I think we had everything we could possibly do in the most positive way. We had kids engaged in ministry. We had the conclusion of a sermon series. We had a large gathering of brothers and sisters. And just to cap it all off, we threw a baptism in there. And it was almost like, I know why we did the order of things, and that was partly to I fulfill my desires for having kids witness the baptisms and all of that. But you kind of had your best sermon illustration before the sermon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And instead of being able to say, hey, in a moment we're gonna watch how all of this gets lived out, we kind of saw what, the working of God in someone's life, building upon kind of the main point of the sermon, and then we concluded the sermon series, the Sermon on the Mount sermon series, right?
We have one more week, but you
got your final thoughts there,
yeah.
But Jesus wraps it up with basically a simple, that I'm sure Nike stole, which is just do it. But maybe, if you guys want to throw in any of your kind of reflections, observations from the Sunday, and
well, I'm curious what Dad says, but for me, well, go ahead. You were about to start.
You go ahead, because there's too much.
It was just beautiful to see the community coming around, how the community has come around, a family and a boy in the family who's becoming a man and heading off, and just that they could wrap all of that up into that moment where I'm choosing to follow Jesus. As I head out, this is what I want to do. I want to follow Jesus. I want to stand before you, dripping wet, saying, "This is what my life is about." And I just thought that was really beautiful. So.
Yeah, it was wonderful, but it was like layer on layer on layer on layer. So like imagine if you had like a wedding and a baptism and a funeral.
Right, because you celebrated it all that weekend.
Or even if you got married, had a baby, moved to a new city, and got a new job, right? Like those are a lot of really big things all at once. So for us, it was a really big deal. Like almost Titus's last Sunday and his first time playing electric guitar on stage.
Oh yeah,
that was actually
he did well too.
Like his first time ever. Baptism as well as graduation, as well as grandparents there, as well as like this big reunion, as well as the last Sunday of picnics, all those things together. And then you put that all internally and emotionally. There was a lot there. So for us, we're still kind of processing what exactly all just happened, because in some ways, like now we're kind of like light speed to college for us. So it was beautiful, but as far as being in the tank with him and then being able to serve him and to encourage him in that, and I loved the encouragement from the audience as well too, from people who spoke into his life for years, but now kind of had this recap, and I pray that he goes back and listens to that every now and then, because that was kind of a cool moment of being able to record that, set it in time, and then go back and share and reshare, and it was exciting. So.
And that's one of the wonderful technological advances that we have, is that these things do get recorded, right? Like when I think back to when I was baptized, I don't remember a word that was said, and that's partly because it was a long time ago, and partly because in that moment when you're the person in the tank and you're like, I have to do my testimony in front of and it's the nerves and the excitement, and it can be a really overwhelming time of emotion that holding on to what people say is just nearly impossible. And so and that's I think in part why and for all those who were moved to share, that's wonderful. So glad you did. A written transcript to go with it is sometimes a good thing too.
Yeah.
But we record it, and that's a wonderful thing. So like you said, he can. And for those who have been baptized, for all of you, like, go back and watch it again if you can, and relive that.
Like you said with the Nike thing, like it's a just do it, but also like you have the choice to move forward in this, right? And that's the beautiful thing about baptism, and what we stressed even as a family was we are not going to choose this for you. And neither should anyone choose this for you. We long for the opportunity to say alongside you and with you that you are pursuing to follow Christ, and like that was a big deal for us to say that actually is your choice, not ours. So
well, and as he wonderfully expressed too, right, there's differentiating in the faith, and he's probably said it shorter and better than I am right now, right, that it was his parents' faith, and then it's got to become his, and that's for all of us, right? If we've grown up in regardless of the faith background, but if we've grown up in a believing home of some kind, what is our belief going to be? And especially, I think, in the Christian life, we have to be able to understand what do we, how do we see this? How are we expressing this? How are we following Jesus? And that's good. He's, it's another example of someone who's working through that. Yeah. Yeah. And then you brought the last passage of the Sermon on the Mount. As you've mentioned, it's not a conclusion of the series, but it's a conclusion of the sermon.
Exactly.
And where Jesus said, he kind of asked the question: are you guys going to be wise, or are you going to be foolish? And I don't know anybody who wakes up every morning and says, I'm going to choose to do the wrong thing today, or I'm going to choose to be a fool. I mean, we all sometimes maybe act a fool to get a joke, or get a laugh, but I don't know anybody who really wants to be foolish and wants to be self-destructive. So
you're hitting on a good point. I think that's kind of what he's challenging. He's like, you don't wake up and say I'm going to be foolish, but if you don't wake up and say I'm going to be wise, then you're going to be foolish. And so he's like, you want to be wise? It takes a choice, right?
Intentionality, right?
Intentionality, and that was kind of, and I probably gave a little bit more in that sermon than there was time to really unpack. But the idea was, are you going to put it into practice? And if you are, here's a few ways. Like, first, accept Jesus, admit you need him, right? Titus showed, the symbol of that in baptism. You build your foundation on him, say yes to him, get baptized. But then it doesn't just end there. It's a process, it's putting into practice the things that he talked about in his sermon, which shape our heart, shape who we are. And so we're becoming the kind of people he wants us to be by working with him to shape our heart. And that's where the challenge comes in, and that's why he touched on all these things. Like, you can do all the right things for the wrong motive. So if you're doing these right things, you're doing the things to say I did the things, then that's not. So don't be doing it for that reason. Do the things so that they shape your heart, And that's kind of, it's hard to wrap our mind around sometimes. But the things are really important. The things he talked about, giving and praying and fasting, and those, but don't do those just to say, okay, I fasted today. Okay, do it so that it shapes your heart, right? And I think that's where we need him always, right? We can tick off the things, but we need him for that right motivation, and so he's our foundation. We have to build on him. Lord, I want to serve you, so I'm going to choose to do this so that I can grow and become more like you and serve you. Help me with it, and like I said, it takes a lot to unpack, and we've taken 6 months to try to unpack his sermon.
But that's kind of the point, is everything that Jesus is talking about in the kingdom of heaven is like this, and like, I'm going to reshape your minds in this one sermon, which feels like a lot, but like, if you want to know where we're headed in the future, this is where it's going, and I'm asking you to follow. I'm asking you to choose. You can choose folly or you can choose me, right? And I think that's why it's actually okay, especially for us and for Jesus, to take a long time to say what he's trying to say, so that we get it. Because I think quite often we're quite thick. If it was a flash in the pan, it would be a bumper sticker, and then we would forget it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Jesus is continually pointing back and using different examples and like all these different ways of challenging us in our way of thinking. Do we really understand what the kingdom of heaven is about? Right?
Yeah, and like you said with the baptism, go back and read it again and again and again, and let that shape you. Sorry.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, because really specifically what Jesus says is, my words are the, right? A wise person will build on my words. So we should know his words.
Yeah.
And beyond that, recognize his voice and what is he saying, and what did he live out, which is the act of his words and intention. So it is good to go back and read again and again and be intentional, because the other expression in my brain is, right, if we don't choose wisely, we will default to dumb. And that is just more often than not what happens when we don't choose. And so one other thing going on last Sunday, and that was our kids were packing backpacks to send to the, and so we've got 51 of these guys that we are sending off, not children, obviously, backpacks, in case you're wondering what I meant by guys, 51 backpacks that we're taking to the food bank to be distributed to families. And and it's a pretty great thing. It's pretty great, because even some of them, through some personal stories that they heard, like they know some people who get these, and so now it's not just that this is some random loose thing. It's, I know that someone in my school might be receiving a backpack, and I want it to, be, put together with pride, and I want to really put care into this. And so for our kids to really be active in that, it's a really cool thing. And so that was a real extra layer of joy in that morning, with so much to praise God for, is that we also as a church are sending these off. And so that's often something that gets done on behalf of a lot of the congregation, but many of you have brought backpacks in, and we thank you for that. And we look forward to really blessing families with this this year. And so coming up, I guess looking back and coming up, as we continue to straddle this fence, we had our Canada Day celebration where, yes, some of us got sunburned because it was wicked hot, and apparently 3 layers of sunscreen's not enough when you're sweating profusely. But we had such a time of real fun. Kevin, you used the word joy in that. I don't know if you want to reflect on some of your experience with it yesterday, Canada Day, but
just seeing some kids come up and being able to just play with bubbles with them, and not just kids. Sometimes some kids, right? And there was a couple adults who would pop bubbles with me. That's a real testament to the fact that we just wanted to add some joy. We wanted to kind of just make people smile and say, wow, that's fantastic. And we can say, God is good, let's pop some bubbles. And for others, they can just say, this is really fun, thank you for that.
Well, and one of the things I think happened in that is not that we were running a babysitting service. No, not at all. But because there's other booths around, and some of the kids that come to mind were the kids of the guy running this booth or that booth, and to see them kind of go, this church actually just wants to have fun with kids and be part of the community, and it kind of connects some puzzle pieces. And we don't get to have spiritual conversations in these moments. That's something we avoid, and not avoid, we just don't bring up in order to honor the city and the requests they've made of us, but to be able to interact with people just as people and as citizens of West Kelowna, and to see that that church is actually okay, right? They can be normal, they can be fun, they can care for kids and all of that. I think a lot of goodwill is built there, and bridges. That's the word that often comes to mind, is that we're just trying to build bridges with people, so that we have opportunity in the future to share Jesus in personal ways. And so And in that, yeah, it's moments of joy where you see kids dancing around to a song that only they can hear in their head, popping all the bubbles coming out of the bubble machine.
So good.
Well, you've got teenagers that are like, are my friends around? Are they going to see me
Yeah,
blowing
yeah.
bubbles? Or am I going to look dorky? And even adults who are like, I don't care, I am a dork, and here blowing bubbles and playing around, and it's all good. Everything in between. It's a beautiful morning. And we could use some more helpers for the 12th coming up. I think it works really great if we have like 2 to 4 people. Or I guess actually let me say it this way, 4 to 6 people for the course of the day, because then you can have like 2 to 3 for the first 2 and a bit hours and 2 to 3 for the last 2 and a bit hours. And then nobody is out for too long in the heat. But and that's what we were able to do this last time. And so we'd love to have 3 more people, or a couple extra, 3 to 5 more people sign up to help with that. That'd be really wonderful. And then we can kind of spread things out. Then you can share the joy with people too. Not that it's tedious filling up bubble things. It's not. No. But when we can just sort of play.
A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
And watching one of the ladies in our church just standing there blowing bubbles, that was also a highlight for me.
That's
I
awesome.
got it. I'm like, all right, this is fun. And so if you'd like to be part of that, come talk to me, email me, text me, whatever. Let me know you're interested. Having that in writing, I love, because then I can go back and be like, okay, on Sunday, someone said something to me about something, and that was it's great. So maybe emailing is preferred, but talk to me on Sunday, and I'll try and write it down right away. And I would love to get you in there on the 12th. And anything else you need to be aware of coming up?
Drama camp.
Yes, of course.
Is in the works. So, deep in the works, but it's coming up in 3 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So be praying for. For Lori and the team as they prepare, and for the kids that they're going to be interacting with a passage from the Bible and creatively telling that. And so every day we get a chance to share what Jesus is saying in his parable. So pray for them. Yeah.
And as we've just established, what Jesus says is really important.
Yeah, very much is. So yes.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's right. Do the running away or the no? Anyways, Anyways, well then, thanks for spending a few minutes with us and staying up to date in a season where sometimes you might be, checking in from around the globe, but or the wonderful confines of your air-conditioned basement, wherever you happen to be this week. We're just glad you spent some time with us, and we look forward to connecting in person real soon.